Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, the IU women's basketball team have already made it history this season, but they could make even more. We'll tell you about their recent success.
And the swim and dive season comes to an end in grand fashion. This is Hoosier Sports Nite. Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Andrew Walker.
And I'm Meredith Struing. The IU women's basketball team hopes to add one more win to their record, and hopefully it will come with a banner. The Hoosiers have worked extremely hard to make it this far, proving they are deserving of a title. Andrew, what do you think?
Oh, it's just so good to see these girls come this far and really make it this far. It's just really great to see their hard work pay off. You know?
I agree. You know, the seniors, they have really stepped up, but even the freshmen, they're making the points, they're rebounding, they're doing everything as a team.
Yeah, freshmen just stepping up huge this season. It's great.
Exactly. Our reporter Dan Black was at Simon Scott Assembly Hall to witness this historic result.
The Indiana women's basketball team exemplified the old cliche, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, in their 71-58 victory over the TCU Horned Frogs in the semifinal of the WNIT. The Hoosiers' rocky start offensively came from all facets of the game. In the first half, Indiana wasn't able to find consistency from the free throw line, going just 2 for 8 in the first 20 minutes, all of which came from Tyra Buss, who, despite her inefficiency, never gave up on her shot throughout the game.
I'm a good free throw shooter, and I was in my head a little bit, and I was just missing those free throws. And so I'm here to help the team win, and I wasn't. So I was a little frustrated, but going into the half, my teammates had my back, and, they really gave me some good juice, and they were being really positive, telling me I'm a good free throw shooter, just step up to the line and knock them down, and that's what I did the second half.
The Hoosiers uncharacteristically were also having trouble shooting from beyond the arc. They shot 0 for 4 in the first quarter and only 2 for 9 in the first half. The second half showed a completely different side of Indiana from the first. The Hoosiers didn't miss from the free throw line, going a perfect 10 for 10, while also shooting 50% from 3. In the third quarter alone, the Hoosiers shot an absurd 70% from the field. IU finished the game shooting 53%, while also besting the Horned Frogs in points off turnovers 17-9, as well as out-rebounding TCU 38-33. Despite another tremendous outing by Amanda Cahill and Tyra Buss, much of the praise went to their supporting cast, which consists of Kim Roycer, Bendu Yaney, and Jalen Penn.
We're not winning these games because of Tyra and B alone. We're winning these games because we have a great supporting cast. Roycer
clogged the middle on both sides of the ball, finishing with a 10-point game on 5 for 5 shooting. Much of her points came inside, which helped IU score 38 inside the paint. She also added 10 rebounds, 8 on the defensive end. Yaney was also strong offensively, finishing with 12 points on 50% shooting, while also being a force on the glass, finishing with 9 boards. Jalen Penn added 13 points of her own, with all three combining for 35 of Indiana's 72 points. The Hoosiers will now look forward to Saturday afternoon, where they will play host to the Virginia Tech Hokies for the WNIT Championship. Reporting for iOS TV Sports, I'm Dan Black.
Officially, this is the first WNIT championship appearance for the IU women's basketball team. Santa Clara defeated the Hoosiers in 1991 for the NWIT title game, the forerunner to this tournament.
After a slow start away from home, Indiana softball looked to build some momentum on their home turf as they welcomed Ohio State last weekend to begin the conference season.
Trainer went for 2 complete game victories, and Westmoreland added 2 homers as Indiana sweeps number 18 Ohio State. The Hoosiers are now 6-2 at home and undefeated to start the Big Ten season. The performances were well received as Trainer and Westmoreland earned Big Ten player honors. Westmoreland won Player and Freshman of the Week, while Trainer earned Pitcher of the Week. All it took was for Westmoreland to bat .429 with 2 homers and 7 RBIs, and Trainer to win 2 out of the 3 games in the series by herself. Things got heated between Coach Stanton and the umps before O'Malley clinched the series, which led to the Hoosiers starting the Big Ten season #1 in the standings.
Having Coach, in my ear, always saying, stay up for your team, be positive. And this series, I didn't have the most offensive luck and power, but it just so happened that my one hit for the series scored the go-ahead runs, and that's the way the game works.
Signing off, I'm Caleb Yarling.
The Hoosiers will travel to East Lansing this weekend for a 3-game set with the Spartans before returning home to host Nebraska as the Big Ten season continues.
Over the past few weeks, the IU men's and women's swim and dive teams have seen a lot of action as each team competed in the national championships. Our Drew Fry has the story.
Both the IU men's and women's swim and dive teams earned top 10 finishes in the national championships over the span of the last 2 weeks. The number 9 ranked women climbed in the rankings every day of the tournament before placing 8th in the nation. They ultimately put up 4 top 3 finishes and earned a total of 21 All-Americans. A week later, it was the men's turn. The number 3 ranked Hoosier squad made a serious run at the title before finishing 3rd. Going into the final day of the championships, IU had a solid first-place lead, but Texas and California finished strong to bump IU down to 3rd place. For the Hoosiers, their finish was their best in 43 years, as IU notched 42 All-American honors while winning 4 titles and putting up 11 top 3 finishes. Vinny Lanza contributed to 5 Big Ten and 6 school records, and perhaps most impressively, Blake Pironi earned 7 All-Americans, setting the record for his leg of the 800 freestyle relay. IU divers showed up as well, combining for 11 All-American nods. The men even put up the most points out of any diving squad in the nation. Other key contributors for the Hoosiers included Lily King and Ian Finnerty, who combined to win all 4 breaststroke titles. They now hold 3 out of the 4 American records. And not to be ignored, swim coach Ray Luz and dive coach Drew Johansson were awarded Swim and Dive Coach of the Year, respectively.
Good night for the Hoosiers. Go IU.
For IUSTV Sports, I'm Drew Fry.
This was the last IU meet for several Hoosier seniors, as 17 athletes will be graduating this year.
The IU men's tennis team faced its second top 10 opponent of the season in perhaps one of the longest matchups ever played at the IU Tennis Center. IUSTV tennis reporter Juan Diego Alvarado has the recap of the Hoosiers marathon match.
The Indiana Hoosiers played host to the number 7 Illinois Fighting Illini last Friday at the IU Tennis Center for its first home conference matchup of the season. In the match, the Hoosiers battled for over 3 hours against the top 10 ranked team, but were not able to clinch crucial points and wins to come up on top and lost 5-2. The loss against Illinois became IU's 4th in a row.
We're just trying to get behind our guys and get, back them up as much as we can and tell them how much we believe in them, and we feel that, the more that we give, the more that, hopefully they can, maybe it gives them that little edge to try to get through the win. So
not all was bad news for IU, however. Senior Rahil Manji played at number 1 singles, got a very good 3-set win over the number 59 singles ranked player Alex Brown, 6-7, 7-6, and 10-3 in the super tiebreak. The other Hoosier point came from sophomore Zach Brodney, who keeps having good performances in both singles and doubles alongside Manji.
We've been right there with a lot of top 20, top 10 teams like this one. I just think that if we keep coming together and keep using this momentum and just trying to use this as confidence, try to find the good things but not ignore the negative things and learn from them, I think we'll be good moving forward through the Big Ten season.
The Hoosiers dropped their record to 8-9 and 1-2 in conference play. From now on, IU will only play conference matchups and will go on the road next week to face 2 powerful opponents.
Everyone in the Big Ten is good. We're going to talk about this match and then move forward and focus on Michigan State and Michigan and hopefully come away with 2 wins there.
For IUSTV Sports, I am Juan Diego Alvarado.
Up next, the Hoosiers will travel to the Great Lakes State to square off with the Michigan State Spartans and the Michigan Wolverines on Friday and Saturday, respectively. When Hoosier Sports Night continues, a former IU basketball player will compete in a different kind of championship during March Madness.
And find out how a formerly injured IU tennis player is making a comeback. You are watching Hoosier Sports Night.
Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night. While the Indiana men's basketball team may not have made the tournament, one former Hoosier will be busy during Final Four weekend. Former IU guard Robert Johnson was selected to participate in the inaugural Dos Equis 3-on-3 National Championship. The new event will have a four-man team consisting of graduated seniors who have exhausted their collegiate ability from D1 College Basketball Conference, competing for a $100,000 prize pool in San Antonio.
Johnson will join the Big Ten team after averaging 14 points per game as a senior. The four-year starter was an All-Big Ten honorable mention and tied the school record for three-point field goals made in a game when he hit 9 of them against the Iowa Hawkeyes earlier this year. The event will take place from March 30th to April 1st. You can catch all the action on Twitter Live or on ESPN2. And moving from the hardwood to the links in South Carolina, the women's golf team capped off a weekend of competition after competing in the Clemson Invitational this past weekend. The team was led by not one but two top 20 performances as Priscilla Schmid and Mary Parsons both tied for 19th. The international duo shot a .215 each, which led the IU finishing in 8th out of 15 teams. The team will compete in the Lady Buckeye Invitational on April 14th and 15th before taking part in the Big Ten Championships on April 20th through the 22nd.
The men's golf team looked to sharpen their skills in the Palm Desert, California this past weekend to participate in the Bighorn Invitational, hosted by Kansas State. The Hoosiers finish in 7th out of 12 teams after shooting .860 on the weekend. The Cream and Crimson were led by Tennessee native Brock Oxenrider, who finished tied for second by posting a .208 for the tournament. Indiana will be back in action next weekend when they compete in the Irish Creek Intercollegiate in Kannapolis, North Carolina, April 7th and 8th.
And one of the key members of the Indiana women's tennis team this season has been redshirt sophomore Caitlin Bernard, who leads the team in wins. IUS-TV tennis reporter Spencer Aber sat down with Bernard to talk about her resurgence following a devastating injury.
And I went to hit an overhead and I just fell.
Caitlin Bernard was preparing to join the IU women's tennis team 3 years ago when she suffered a torn ACL.
I didn't realize right away what had happened until I knew.
The injury forced Bernard to sit out her entire freshman season, and for a time it seemed like it might have ended her career altogether.
Right when it happened, I didn't think I was going to be able to play tennis again, at a high level, so I basically said, I'm going to quit, it's not going to happen.
But Bernard showed some resiliency, sticking with the program and taking a redshirt year. But she stayed involved with the team by taking on a role that didn't require her to pick up a racket.
One way we kept her involved that year is she became kind of like our student coach. So I think that helped her mature a lot, and obviously now she's just doing a great job.
It took 2 full years to get her game back, and now she leads the team with 14 wins. After a long road back to the court, Bernard has a new perspective on her injury.
I feel like just all my hard work in the past 2 years since I've been back really just is showing now. It's rewarding to me to see those results happen.
The women's tennis team has worked their way to a 13-6 record so far this season, including a stretch of 8 straight wins to kick off the season. Bernard looks to help the Hoosiers continue their winning ways during their conference slate, which began earlier this month. For IUS-TV Sports, I'm Spencer Aber.
Bernard and the Hoosiers will hit the court again on Saturday when they host the Iowa Hawkeyes at the IU Tennis Center.
The Hoosier baseball team is coming off a big non-conference win on Wednesday when they traveled to Terre Haute and took down the Indiana State Sycamores 5-3. but they have to wait a little longer than expected to see if they can carry that momentum into their next game. The Hoosiers were scheduled to kick off their series against Butler on Thursday night, but due to weather and the start of the series has been delayed. In this series, the Hoosiers will look to get revenge for last year's game, a 7-5 victory for the Bulldogs at Bart Kaufman Field. Butler holds a 17-4 record in 2018, largely thanks to their dominant offense. The Bulldogs average over 7 runs per game and hit a .285 average as a team. The Bulldog pitching staff had a solid season as well, touting a team ERA of 2.82 and 190 strikeouts as a group. Despite the poor weather recently in the Midwest, the Hoosiers are doing their best to stay locked in on the games ahead of them.
It does affect you. It's been a tough 2 weeks just moving games. But at the end of the year, we talked about this morning, it's either we won or we didn't. So we have to prepare to play. And when they tell us to show up to play, then we're going to play and go from there.
The Hoosiers and the Bulldogs will get their series rolling with a doubleheader on Friday. First pitch is scheduled for 2:05, and juniors John Stever and Paulie Milto will take the mound for IU in games 1 and 2, respectively.
The Indiana women's senior class reached the most wins in school history over the weekend when they swept the competition in the Red Storm Invitational hosted by St. Francis University. The Hoosiers left the weekend with a 5-game winning streak after beating the Bucknell Bison 15-5 when 3 Hoosiers recorded hat tricks. The number 13 Hoosiers played their toughest game of the weekend against the number 22 Harvard Crimson. IU held the lead throughout, but the Crimson would use a 4-0 run to take the lead going into the 4th period. Senior Sarah Young killed the Crimson momentum with back-to-back goals before senior Jennifer Beadle found the back of the net for the game winner to give IU an 11-10 victory. With the weekend sweep, Indiana reached the 20-win mark for the 9th time in school history. Next up, Indiana will host the number 9 Michigan Wolverines Saturday at 11 a.m. They'll recognize their 7 seniors before the Big Ten clash.
The Hoosiers and the Bulldogs will get their series rolling with a doubleheader on Friday. First pitch is scheduled for 2:05, and juniors John Stever and Paulie Milto will take the mound for IU in games 1 and 2, respectively.
Indiana water polo's senior class reached the most wins in school history over the weekend when they swept the competition in the Red Storm Invitational hosted by St. Francis University. The Hoosiers left the weekend with a 5-game winning streak after beating the Bucknell Bison 15-5 when 3 Hoosiers recorded hat tricks. The number 13 Hoosiers played their toughest game of the weekend against the number 22 Harvard Crimson. IU held the lead throughout, but the Crimson would use a 4-0 run to take the lead going into the 4th period. Senior Sarah Young killed the Crimson momentum with back-to-back goals before senior Jennifer Beadle found the back of the net for the game winner to give IU an 11-10 victory. With the weekend sweep, Indiana reached the 20-win mark for the 9th time in school history. Next up, Indiana will host the number 9 Michigan Wolverines Saturday at 11 a.m. They'll recognize their 7 seniors before the Big Ten clash.
The Indiana women's soccer team continued their spring schedule last Saturday when they hosted the St. Louis Billikens at Mellencamp Pavilion. The Billikens got out to a hot start, taking a 3-0 lead into the halftime break, but junior forward Maya Piper led a Hoosier comeback in the second half, bagging a pair of goals. Indiana tied up the match with a goal from freshman Melanie Forbes in the 76th minute, but they couldn't get a result as the Billikens scored the game-winning goal in the 85th minute to win the match 4-3. The Hoosiers will return to the pitch on April 6th when they host the Evansville Aces at Bill Armstrong Stadium.
And the IU athletics community received some unfortunate news on Wednesday morning as former Indiana men's basketball player Daryl Thomas suffered a heart attack and passed away at the age of 52. Thomas was a 2-time captain of the men's basketball team and was a key member of the 1987 national championship team. He scored over 1,000 points in his IU career and made the assist on Keith Smart's game-winning shot in the 1987 championship game against Syracuse. After his playing career ended, the Chicago native spent 8 years as an assistant coach at his alma mater, St. Joseph's High School, and had been the head coach at Montagny Catholic High School since 2015. Thomas leaves behind a wife and 3 children.
That does it for our show this week. Don't forget to like our page IUS TV Sports on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at IUS TV Sports. For Meredith Struing, I'm Andrew Walker, and we'll see you next week.